Hello, everyone. Uh, we're back. We didn't do live stream last week for unforeseen circumstances. Everything is fine. We're back. And I messed up a little bit. I thought this was going to be on 5 p.m. UTC, which I was correct. What I was not correct about is that I forgot that Europe switched to daylight saving time. And if we started at 5 p.m., you know how I'm always complaining about, oh, this is so late and I need to go to sleep. And now it turns out that the stream needed to start at like 10 p.m. for me. So I asked our guest for today, whom I will introduce shortly, if he could arrive a bit earlier. So if you have been waiting for the stream to start at 5 p.m., I'm sorry. We started a bit earlier, but still, if you can't make it now, you will be able to watch the recording or maybe join later. We'll definitely talk for about an hour or something. Yeah. And I'm gonna make like a lot of excuses because I slept on like 4 hours yesterday. I was watching the PSG Bayern game. If anyone watches football, please let me know. Maybe I will at some point say, you know what, down with Angular. I'm gonna do football live streams. So if you watch, if you watch football, and especially if you like Bayern Munich, please let me know. Let me see how it's going. Okay, back to Angular. Back to our today's topic. This is one of my favorite topics. We're going to talk to, but we're going to talk to about like state management in Angular, and especially, of course, NgRx, because you know how big NgRx is in the state management, uh, let's say, circle, right? And we are joined today by a very cool guest who is also a book author and a big professional on all things Angular and state management, Roberto Heckers. Hi, Roberto. Oh, we can't hear you.
Again, I was
Yeah.
muted. Welcome everybody, and thank you for having me on the show. It's actually my first time on a live podcast, so it's new for me as well.
Nice. Yeah. It's easier than it sounds usually.
Well, I will survive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a big topic for today. I guess a lot of people are excited about this. So state management, right?
Yes, definitely. One of the
Give me a hot take or something.
a hot take. I think we are overusing NgRx and should move more to state management of server state management libraries, actually like TanStack and stuff like that.
Okay. So you are not saying that like the idea of state management is overused,
No,
but
no,
rather than
definitely not.
client
But
side.
yes, well, not. Yeah, the client state is maybe we, as an Angular community, and your NgRx, such a difficult term to say. um, it's used basically as the default state management library and has been for years. And because of that, I think we kind of see all state like client state, and we don't really make the good distinction between server state and client state in the Angular world. I'm guilty about that myself, definitely as well. But as of late, I've been diving more and more into distinguishing the two, and also looking into libraries like TanStack or Angular Query or whatever. I also think with the new resource API, not that it's really for state management, but it also kind of hints into that direction, I suppose.
Turns out people appreciate you a lot, Roberto. Michael says that he read 5 Angular books last year and effective Angular was the best. Good stuff.
Thanks a lot. The only regret I have about it, or regret, is when I was writing it, like the week or 2 weeks before it was should have been released, Signals came onto the scene, so I had to go back into the book and make some quick edits to include it.
Yeah.
So I included it a bit, but if I had to rewrite it again, I would definitely go much heavier on the Signal stuff, because
Oh,
now it's really heavy
I
on RxJS.
I get you. Like I feel what you're saying. It was not exactly the same, but kind of like the same with my book. In Modern Angular, I have 2 chapters about signals, and it was planned. I put a lot of stuff there, and as the book was being reviewed, they came up with they removed the mutate. I think it was called mutate, the
Yes,
mutate method. They introduced the signal inputs, but they were like developer preview, and then also the new control flow, which kind of tied in with that. And
same as well. I
yeah,
also went in for the control flow, and I had to make some last minute edits and stuff. So that was kind of a pity, but that's the
yeah,
problem with tech and writing books, I suppose.
yeah. Michael says, you two are both beasts for writing Angular books these days as stuff evolves at this speed. Thank you for appreciation, Michael. And yeah, I'm not touching it for a while, but
Same for
it was
me.
it was amazing. Like it was such a good experience, right? I mean, you also learn a lot of stuff, and you become like so much more confident about what you know
Yes, definitely.
because you yeah. Uh, but yeah, for now, I would love to write a book at some point, another one. But
Yeah,
yeah, for
same,
now,
but it takes a lot of time. I think I wrote for about 14 months, and it was like, I don't know, 20 hours a week at least that I put into
yeah,
it. And at the start, the idea was to write a book of 200 pages, I believe, 250. That was what I
mm,
discussed with the
yeah,
publisher, and I ended up writing like 450 pages. So it totally grew out of proportion.
yeah. So thanks everyone for appreciating us and our books. Please buy them. But maybe people are thinking now, what are we gonna talk about state management? So I have a question. And it's an important one because I'm also kind of behind on that stuff. I love NgRx. I love reminding people that I contributed a tiny bit to NgRx. If you read the ESLint plugin rule descriptions, a lot of them are written by me. But and yes, usually when I start a new project, I slap NgRx on it. Let's do it, and so on. It has a lot of tools. It's great. But I now also hear that 10-stack query, as you mentioned, is becoming more and more popular, and I'm aware of it. I have read a bit about it, but I don't know it. I wouldn't go and give any advice about using or not using or how you should go about 10-stack. And I think a lot of average Angular developers, like all the people working on different projects, usually are not that familiar with 10-stack query. Am I right or not?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's maybe help, yeah, them become
It's
a bit
more
more
of
familiar.
of a React thing, I suppose. Within the React community, it's really
Hmm.
popular.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't call myself an expert on it either, but I have been playing with it, and I've been diving a bit into it, and built some small yeah test demo applications with it.
Hmm.
And I definitely like what I see. Basically, the idea is, well, we can divide state into, let's make it broad, 3 different categories. It's local UI state, so your components and stuff. I don't know, things like toggles, form controls, disabled states, stuff like that. Then we have the client state. That's mostly what we should handle with NgRx, so signal stores or whatever. And that's basically data that's owned by the client. But most data and most applications is actually owned by the server and not really by the client. The client only borrows it, but the source of truth lives on the server for most of it. Um, And yeah, when you deal with server state, there is a lot of things going on. You have to cache the data. You have to deal with staleness of the data, the validity, or how long the cache remains valid as well. Garbage collection of your cache, caching as a whole topic on its own, basically, and one of the most difficult things in programming, I suppose. You have to dedupe multiple requests for the same data, and there is just a whole list of things you have to do when handling state management. And generally, we implement most of these things ourselves with interceptors, with other libraries for caching, for whatever. A whole bunch of stuff and code goes into that. Um, Only to then duplicate the server state kind of in our signal store or in our
Yeah.
NgRx, whatever normal implementation, the old school one. Um, while something like 10 stack basically does all that stuff for you. So it has
Yeah.
amazing caching. It allows you to easily configure when your cache expires, how long your data is
Yeah.
before it's stale, and stuff like that. Um, yeah, and it just makes sense. The mental model, when you start to work with it, it makes a lot of sense. You can really easily let it automatically refetch data when queries change. Basically, a bit like the new resource API, you can give it dependent keys, for example. And then when the key changes, so for example, you have an active page or an offset or whatever, and when that page
Yeah.
changes, it will automatically refresh your data, put it in cache,
Oh, okay.
and stuff like that. So it's really a nice tool, to use actually.
I want to. You got me all excited here. I want to do something unconventional and share my screen. Usually, our guests share their screen, and I want to show the uh, dog pages for 10 stack query Angular, and maybe we can spend like 5 minutes looking at examples because you said a lot of stuff, and I got some of that. I guess people who are not familiar with 10 stack would benefit from seeing it. Let me just.
I can also, we can first go through the documentation, but I also made a
Yeah.
small demo app, so I can show that as
Oh,
well.
cool.
It actually combines signal stores and query of
Oh,
10 stack.
okay. Okay, then let's see if. Yeah. So now there's my
An
screen.
infinite loop.
Yeah, a lot of us. So yeah, I opened the docs. It's just let's spend like 2 3 minutes just seeing how this works.
Let's see if I can put it on the other screen. That's better. Otherwise, it's too
Yeah,
small.
it looks. Oh man, this is a
Yeah, so
kind of an unconventional documentation. A lot of stuff going on here.
yeah, basically, this is the simplest example. I'm trying to point,
Yeah.
but nobody can see where I'm pointing at.
Yeah.
So if you look at the component class, you have the inject query, and that's
Yeah.
basically how you make a query. And a query is something that will fetch data for you. It's You
Yeah.
can compare it to the resource API of Angular now.
Oh yeah.
Um, you give it a key that's basically for your cache. Now it's a
Mm-hmm.
string, but you can put signal properties in there. You can just comma
Oh, okay.
separate it inside that array. And if you set a signal in that, for example, and the signal changes, it
Oh,
will invalidate it and fetch new data for
okay.
you. And then you have the query function, similar again to the resource API basically, and that's just your function that makes the API
Oh,
call.
that's interesting.
And then
So
the
query key
query,
is essentially
it's
like
just
the
your
the thing
caching
we
key.
use. Yeah. So in this scenario, there is no invalidation of the cache essentially because
No,
it's the
no,
static string.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Got
can
it.
invalidate it yourself. So you have inject query, but you also have inject mutation. That's for post request and stuff like that.
Ah. Okay.
And then you can say invalidate, and then you could say repo data, or you could also say repo, for example. And then if you have, let's say, repo data and repo something else, it will invalidate them both. So you can target multiple keys with prefixes of them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's has some cool
Oh.
stuff to invalidate yourself if you want to.
Well, that's really interesting. So yeah, one benefit right now that I see obviously over resources is that we have this mutation things. which we don't have yet for resources. It's still a bit vague about how it's going to be implemented, right?
Yeah, and it
But
has a lot more configurations compared to resource. So you can, yeah, say stale time or the
yeah,
cache expiration date. So
uh,
it's valid for like 60 seconds or an
oh, that's
hour or
cool.
whatever. And
But I have a different question because this sounds like a resource, or maybe resource sounds like this. I guess
it has
resources
some
are,
overlap.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But where's the state management thing? Like, is this all that we have? Is this about how we
Well,
get the server state?
that's the whole point with server state. It's like I said, in state management, the question for me at least is always where is the source of truth, who owns the
Yeah,
data. And for server state, so let's say we're fetching a list or whatever it may
yeah,
be, the server really owns the data, or your cache in the front end for as long as it's valid. Um, so this is basically all the state management you're gonna need. You can put it in a let's say signal store, but that makes no real sense basically, because you're just duplicating it into a new place, and then you have
yeah,
kind of two sources of truth, because yeah, you have the server and your cache, which is the actual source of truth for your state
yeah.
servers, or for your state server state. um, and then you have whatever is in your single store, and the two can technically, yeah, deviate from each other, and that's not
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
thing.
So essentially, your own global state, whatever that is, I don't know, is it light mode or dark mode, for example?
For example,
You go handle it. 10 stack query is not about that.
no.
If it's not, yeah,
So
got it.
so it's not about replacing, let's say, a signal
Yeah,
store. It's just making the distinction between, okay, we have client states, state that's really owned by the client. So who's the current user,
yeah.
feature flags,
No, okay.
like you say, dark, light mode, whatever it may be. Also things like, let's say I'm fetching a list and I need a draft, so I'm gonna edit it in, I don't know, multiple screens. That would be a
Yeah.
global front end state as long
No,
as it's
okay.
a draft.
Yeah,
But the moment we commit it, and or we need the
yeah.
original list, that would come from your server again. So it's really making the distinction between, okay, is my state owned by the server or is my state owned by the client? And when it's owned by the
Got it.
client, just use signal store or whatever your client side state management lib is. And if it's owned by the server, add something like 10 stack, just because it handles it really gracefully.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Actually, yeah.
And that's also what I said at the start. Like within the Angular community, we are so yeah, not used to handling server state as a separate thing, basically, that
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard to wrap your head around the mental model. I had some resistance against it in the beginning as well. Like I had, like, what's the deal? Why do I need that? Well, I can hold the list in my signal store or whatever. But then you start working with it, and then you see, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense, and it removes a lot of complicated code like the caching layer and retries and stuff like, yeah, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Paging logic, it can create infinite lists, so incrementally build up a list for when you do infinite scroll, stuff like that. It's all
Hmm.
built in there, just with a couple of, yeah, flags or configurations on that query object.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I actually see a lot of arguments for just using 10 stack query. I have two questions before we move on to your demo example.
Sure.
And so, if I reuse this elsewhere, the same query key, what does that do?
Good question. I actually don't know. I believe they have to be unique.
Oh,
I
really?
think you get an
Uh-huh.
error. I can really quickly, give me a second.
Because for a moment, when we talked about caching and everything, it gave me a sort of impression that if you repeat essentially this code elsewhere and you have already loaded this response, maybe you can just not make that HTTP request again or something like that. Obviously, not so. It's not
It
obviously good functionality. It's just an
it throws you a
idea.
warning in the console. I just really quickly made two similar keys in my demo app, and it's now
Ah, okay.
saying provide tracking expression result and duplicate key for a given collection, and then it says adjust keys. So it
Yeah,
not breaks your application, but it's yeah, recommending you not do that.
yeah. Seems that people do like TanStack query. Hello everyone, sounds like an interesting topic. I've tried TanStack table and really enjoyed working. TanStack table? I didn't know that's a thing. I knew about TanStack query and TanStack
Form and
forms,
router.
I guess. Yeah, but I didn't hear about TanStack table. Now dev tools in some of the embedded examples are wait, what dev tools? Oh, actually, in another part, Michael asks a question that I was going to ask. For these queries, do you typically use these queries directly in components, or would you abstract these to services outside of doc examples like this?
So for these queries, do you typically? I personally put them in a service.
Yeah,
I don't like to put it in the component layer. I also don't do that with other state. Basically, I will share another image in a bit, and then
yeah.
yeah, I can show you how I basically put it all together.
Because that's one controversial point for me with HTTP resource. Because of the HTTP resource, you just provide the URL, which kind of makes sense. I'm making an HTTP call to this URL, but also like we are so used to writing services and putting that sort of stuff there that now using that in a component, just saying HTTP resource, I don't know,
Yeah,
something URL.
I'm not a huge
So
fan
yeah,
of that. I can see it if it's really, really specific to that page and that page alone. But basically, the moment I would need the same data in multiple places, I would never put it in a component of yeah, in the component
yeah,
itself. And then sure, the different pages that use the same data can use their own providers and instances of that service. I'm totally okay with that, actually, for that when it makes
yeah,
sense. Um, but I don't like putting yeah all the loose resources, HTTP resources in components, because I
yeah,
can imagine at a bigger app that will just become a nightmare to maintain, I suppose.
yeah. Kind of makes sense. I think Michael means the TanStack DevTools. Ah, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying. So yeah, let's see your example. Now
Um,
very enthusiastic about TanStack query.
yeah, I will first show. You can see my screen. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, Back to the model on where you would put it. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
my preferred setup is something like that. So we have the local UI state. So that's, like I said, just something like I don't know, toggles on a page, or I don't know, disabled state or whatever, just something locally to the component. Then we have the facade layer, and below or above, whatever you want to say, that we have the server state, and then the client state, which would be something like signal store, and the server state can then be handled with TanStack.
Yeah,
The UI talks to the facade talks to both, actually, the server state and the signal store, and the server state has a dependency on the signal store for its parameters from the cache, so
yeah.
it automatically refetches. So here is
So,
a
but
simpler
who
diagram.
is the facade in this case?
A service, just a service in between
Okay.
the two. I will go to the code now. I have
Okay.
all
Okay.
in place.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah. Great.
um so yeah, let's walk through the entire thing. I will also maybe put the app on the screen a bit. It's just a
Okay.
simple Pokemon thingy I
Yep.
made. um I was a bit limited by the API, unfortunately, and time. I made it yesterday. So we have the page, and then you can see the page only injects one thing. Maybe we
Okay.
can dive later into the facade pattern because
Yeah.
I also really enjoy that. It only injects the facade. It's just gets what it needs from
Yeah.
there. So these are all signals, and then we have some really, really, yeah, clean, minimalistic methods that are also called on the facade, like I don't know, load next page, previous page,
Yeah.
whatever. Then we have the facade. This one injects the queries. So these
Okay.
are the 10 stack ones. And then we have some stores, and these are just signal stores basically.
Oh, okay.
Then we have again some read values, some signals. I think these are mixed again from the queries and then from the stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we have some computes and then the basically the methods here below. It grown a bit large.
Uh-huh.
Normally I would split this up probably a bit further, but as I said, I was jammed
Yeah.
by time.
It still
Um,
makes sense to see them here.
yeah,
So
uh,
essentially, facade is something that you write as a kind of service that takes your local state, like NgRx features or other services, and your 10 stack query state and meshes them together so that your components
yeah,
can
just
consume it.
basically something you put in between your component layer and your state layer.
Yeah.
And that way, as long as normally I put a interface on this one as well, and then as long as you maintain that
Oh, sorry.
interface.
Sorry for
Oh,
interrupting you. Someone saying, please increase the font. And yeah,
yeah.
maybe that makes sense. Yeah, let's
Is
make it
this better?
bigger. Yeah, I think it's good.
Otherwise, I can put it on the other screen that's a little bit smaller, but can someone confirm this is okay?
I think it should be. I am
I,
looking
I,
at
I
full
can make it
screen.
one time bigger. So this is much
Yeah, you
bigger
can
than
make
this.
it. You can make it one level larger. I think.
Larger than
Let's see how
this,
it
it
is.
will be too
Yeah,
big, I
this
suppose.
is the biggest I am willing to go.
Okay. Yeah, so for people who didn't see it, we have the queries and then the stores. So
Yeah.
the facade, it's basically a layer in between your component layer and your state layer. And like I said, I normally like to put an interface on this as well. And then basically, as
Mm-hmm.
long as that interface remains valid, um, I can change everything that's on the right side of this.
Oh,
Basically, let's say the queries and the stores and the implementation of my state without ever touching my component layer. So it basically
yeah.
separates the two. Yeah, and this one is the bridge in between. It's basically like that.
Where are the
Um,
all P haters?
um,
No, that's
well,
nice. I like the idea.
yeah, and then so from the facade we go to the let's go to the query first. Um, so here I define basically three queries. This is
Uh-huh.
a simple one. It's the inject query, the one we saw in the documentation. You can put an enable flag on it, so it's only enabled when there is a selected type. This one comes from my store because that is a front end value in this case. Um, then you can do the cache key. So like I said, I just did Pokemon by type and then the selected type. So each time
Mm-hmm.
this changes, it refetches basically data. I can go to the docs. So it's basically making this call. So type slash fire or type slash normal or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
come
Got it.
on. Um,
Uh-huh.
and that gives me because this might
Oh, okay.
clear some stuff. It gives you the list of Pokemon, and there is a URL to fetch that one from. So that's why I made this one, the details query.
Oh, okay.
Um, this basically gets that list you saw in the API response
Yeah.
and goes fetch the full details of each Pokemon that is relevant for that type. So here we do the same, only instead of inject query, we have inject queries because it's
Oh, okay.
a multitude of them. And then you can say queries, and then we have an array. Basically, it's this one, just an array with name and URL. It's the one we
Yeah.
saw here. I can
So
increase
does
that
inject
as well.
queries do like multiple HTTP calls?
At once,
Yeah.
this one, no, this one,
The
yes,
queries. Yeah, yeah, that's the one I
yes.
mean. Oh, okay. Okay.
I can show it in the console in a bit in the network tab. So this one is basically gonna fetch
Yeah.
all the Pokemon for whatever type, let's say fire or whatever. And I say stale time is 60 seconds. So after 60 seconds, throw away, of basically see my data as invalid because it might have changed on the server.
No,
That's not
okay.
the case in this demo app, of course, but it was just nice
Yeah.
for demo purpose.
That makes sense.
Um, yeah, and then we have the same for the moves, but I will show that in a bit. And then you can see I used, for example, on this type one, I used the selected type as a query parameter, and we
Yeah.
have that in our store. So we depend on the, let's see. Oh no, that's not the right one. The Pokemon query store. Um, and this is basically just a simple signal store, select the type, and we have some page parameters, so active page and items per page.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically all that's to it for this one. And each time we set this selected type, that will re-trigger this one.
Yeah.
So then let's go to the app. I will make this one a bit bigger as well. Can we make this one bigger as well?
Okay.
So if we reload it, you're gonna see initially it makes the types call to get all types. This is in another
Oh,
signal
yeah.
store. Then the type we select by default is normal, so it's gonna make that query basically.
Okay.
Come on. This one comes from 10stack, and then it gets this list with Pokemon for normal type with the name and URL, and based on that we're
Yeah.
gonna make all these. This is the queries
Oh,
one,
okay.
the multitude one, um, and then we have the results. And now you can see I made another overview, which is basically a duplication of this one. I will first switch this, let's say, to fighting. Then clear this one, and now you can see if I move to overview one, it will end up on the normal again, and then
Yeah.
you will notice it will be cached, so there will be no more
Uh-huh.
API calls for this one.
Okay. Got it.
Um, so yeah, that's basically a really simple overview of how I built this one and how the two can basically work together. So the let's see the signal store and the queries and how the two combine. I added some global state in there as well. So for example, we can add some Pokemon, tup, 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 and then
No,
collection,
okay.
and
Yeah.
this is basically client state, because we don't send it to the server. So I said, okay, let's see this as a global state. And then we have, where's the one, collection store, and this is again just a signal store because it's client
Yeah.
state. It has nothing to do with the server. We just hold a Pokemon list, and whether we have this add to collection true or false. So that is for this one. I
Yeah.
also said let's handle that as global state for the example. So again, if I go to overview 2, because it's global app state, it will still be true, so I can add these ones as well. And then when I toggle it to false, the plus buttons vanish, and it
Yeah.
vanishes here as well. And same as for, you can see, let's fighting, those are in the collection, and then if I go to fighting here, the plus button here is gone as well because it's again global state
Ah,
um, of the client. Where is my code? Oh, it moved to the other screen. So that's basically how I combined the two, the signal store and the queries. And I feel it works together quite nice actually.
this is like quite fascinating, to be honest. I haven't gone this far reading about 10-stack query. Really interesting stuff. And I have a bunch of questions though. Question number one. When we say stale time, so
Yes.
yeah, in 60 seconds, like in this example, it will be considered stale, so it won't get from the cache. When the refetching of this data happens when I read the signal that is provided by a individual query. For example, somewhere I'm reading the Pokemon detailed queries dot data.
Yeah, if it's active on the screen right now, so it TanStack
Yeah.
basically tracks if it's being used or not. If it's used, it will refetch it itself, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-huh.
It might be because you have
But
stale
that
time and cache time. So those
okay.
two, one of those two will fetch it automatically. I believe it's stale time because then
Yeah.
it just says, okay, it might have changed on the server, so I need fresh data because
Ah,
whatever
okay.
you have is not valid anymore. And cache time just goes for your cache basically, so it will
But
display
doesn't that kind of tie in the refetching functionality with change detection? Because if I think about it like this, I am picking this one query, let's say again the Pokemon detail query,
mm-hmm.
and I read the value of it in a template, like we did on the other screen. We used the dot data, and
Yeah, I have
I
it
think
here
yeah.
somewhere.
So
Whatever.
doesn't it mean that I might change a totally unrelated signal, right? And trigger a change detection cycle on the wait, but it doesn't really make sense. Although wait, it
Well,
triggers
if
a
it's
change detection cycle and it sees the read of that particular data signal, and then it refetches. But I kind of didn't mean to refetch, although it's okay that it refetched. I just want to understand if I'm viewing this correctly.
Well, if the data is actually the same, your signal won't trigger anyway because you're updating it with the same thing. But if the data changed, then whatever is dependent on it should probably run as well, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. If I say stale time 60 seconds, 60 seconds pass, I'm not doing anything, right? But this query data is right now active on the screen in some way. It's used in a component that is loaded right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere inside the DOM tree, and the data is
Let's
used. So what would it do after 60 seconds or after 10 seconds or
I,
after like whatever? Yeah, let's
I'm not
maybe the best.
100% sure, so let's test it. It's like
Yeah,
I said,
let's see.
I'm by no
Yeah,
means an expert on
yeah.
TanStack yet, so uh,
Let's use this live stream to try to become experts on
yes,
Tanstack query.
it seems
It's
it's
very,
not
it's a great,
doing much.
yeah, right.
So,
But
and now if I
what if we
switch
do
to the
something?
other page, then it will refetch
Yeah,
it.
which makes sense, but because we kind of like
Do a new read on it.
re, yeah. The only thing that I was concerned with is the change because when I do a new read, yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah,
I do a new read, but if it's tied to doing a new read, then a change detection will possibly like
yeah. If
trigger
you
it. For example, if you let's try a different thing in this component where this data is used, this particular query. If we add something like a set interval or whatever, is this a zoneless app or zone based?
I made a new one with let's see. I think it's zone based. Main
Ah,
is
if
it?
it's yeah, it
App
seems to be zone based or
config.
not. Yeah, it says provide zone
Yeah,
change direction. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So if we go to that component and maybe add a set timeout or something and just do nothing about it, just a set timeout that will trigger in like 15 seconds. So after the stale time.
yeah.
And this is going to trigger change detection, right? You don't even need to, yeah,
Whatever.
something like, yeah. Let's see how it goes. It's an interesting experiment.
Wait, let's first clear this one then.
Yeah. Let me take a look at the comments before this. That's something. No, see, someone
Wait,
is
I mean,
asking.
it did
Yeah.
trigger this one, but it didn't refetch.
No, that's actually good, I
We
guess.
can we can try it again. Wait.
Hello, when you will start? We have a comment like this. Or we started earlier. I apologized profusely at the beginning, so when you rewatch it, please go back to that part where I'm apologizing. So yeah, we are doing it for I
There.
think half an hour already. So it doesn't trigger a refetch automatically
No,
on
no.
this. That's
But it does
good.
when I move back to overview one basically, then you will see it does
Yeah,
refetch it, but
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense. That now I'm just like, this is not a question, rather I'm just like curious how it differentiates between those reads, because it definitely does read on a change detection pass. Maybe
yes.
because it's called inject query, maybe it uses some DI shenanigans like using the destroy ref to somehow like
Determine.
decrement
Yeah.
the amount of like listeners that would need to. It's just fascinating, but my curiosity is satisfied for now because it worked as I thought is the correct way for it to work, so I like it. It didn't kind of bring something unexpected into the whole situation. So yeah, great overall.
Can I also
Yeah.
share links in the chat somewhere, or can you? Maybe for anyone who wants to play
I
with it.
think we will.
I think it's a
Yeah,
public one.
feel free to. No, wait. I can send. Can you see the chat
This one?
on the? I think if you go back to the Restream app where you are live, you will see the
This is
chat, and
the correct one. Yeah.
or you can send
Um,
it to me via private, and I will send a message on the
let's
live stream.
see. Channel chat. I can see chat. Can I post in there? I can't. I will send it to you on our private chat. I can send it to you here, I guess.
Okay. Let me see if I can just.
For anybody who wants to just play with it, I'll wait. I can give
Can't.
the exact URL. Give me a second. It's this one.
Yeah. So people will see the comment, the link on YouTube and Twitch. Some people are watching on Twitch. I discovered it on the last episode. I have never thought that anyone actually watches our live stream on Twitch, but they do. So if there anyone is watching on Twitch, you can see the link. People on LinkedIn and Twitter, the main audience, cannot see the link, but I will after the live stream ends, I will tweet and post to LinkedIn. So yeah, you everyone, please stay calm. You will get the links.
I will
It's
share it on
yeah.
LinkedIn as well.
Actually, I can just share it on the screen. You now have AIs, so what you need to do is snap that part, put it into ChatGPT or Gemini or something, and ask it to extract the text. So yeah, this is the link that you can see now is the repo of the demo app that Roberto just showed. So feel free to download it and play around if you want to get familiar with TenStack Query, which is great. This is really good that we're talking about it, because for quite a while I was thinking, oh man, I need to take a more serious look at TenStack Query. I don't have enough time. We are only doing NgRx. I'm gonna be honest. That's
Yeah.
the
Uh,
go-to thing at our
the,
job.
don't get me wrong. At work, we are also just doing Signal Store for now. And then Stack,
Makes sense.
it's still experimental for Angular, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't probably recommend using it in a large production environment or something. But just for your personal projects and stuff, or maybe a smaller application where you pin the version, you be okay.
Yeah. Actually, we got a question not entirely related to the topic, and Michael tried to answer it too. But let's maybe take a look, because sounds like something fascinating. Uh, I used structured clone with a computed signals, so it's about computed signals for state management. and it worked locally but failed in production. There were no builders, only runtime issues, which I discovered after Sentry caught them. Why is this happening? Angular V18 plus. This is just an interesting question. It's not about constant query or NgRx specifically, although it's about computed signals. According to Michael, fraud may not be updated to the version of Node used locally, or the prod TS config is an older compile option lib targeted to localhost dev TS config. Well, this both makes sense to me and also kind of doesn't, because I don't see how Node.js has to do anything with the computed in your like client-side code. Do you have any idea? Well, I personally don't.
No,
But it's an interesting case.
not if it's working locally. At work, we have a couple of objects. The structured clone doesn't work on either. I believe it's because they have a prototype definition defined on it, and it's just trips over them.
Wait, isn't structured clone supposed to work on everything?
Yeah, it actually doesn't work on everything. I didn't dive into it too deep either
Yeah.
at work because it's not in my domain. But I know there are some objects we tried structured clone on, and it just trips over them,
Yeah.
or it strips the prototype definition. So it does a structured clone, but then your object is not intact anymore because the prototype on it is gone, and then yeah, all your prototype methods just vanished, and that might cause errors down the line. So that might be a case as well for your production environment, but I can't see how that wouldn't fail locally
Yeah.
either. So
Yeah. Uh, Michael says the Node version is not about computed, but more so about structured clone being relatively new, and Node version is corresponding to a GS language version with clone. So, like, if I build with a like an older version of Node.js, I might get something else in my bundle. Yeah, I'm thinking. uh, ah. Also, another comment says if you use jest, be careful with structured clone. The structured clone isn't that great after all. I've never used it actually.
it's my go-to for cloning things,
Hmm.
definitely.
I use. I love to use Immer. And I
Yeah,
like that there's the NgRx Immer add-on that you can also plug into NgRx. Maybe we should just talk about NgRx for a bit.
sure.
We covered a lot about 10-stack query. So I want to also maybe discuss signal stores, because I know more about signal stores than I do about like 10-stack query. I've used them a little bit. But again, most of the projects that we work on are legacy for like 10 years now in development, and they had NgRx, the conventional NgRx
Mm.
store, for a long time. So signal store, is it great? What's missing? And maybe do you prefer like to use NgRx signal store over like
I
the
I I
conventional one?
I definitely like to, yeah, use Signal Store over the conventional one. The conventional one, it's great. It's very robust. It's, yeah, it works, and but it has so much boilerplate code.
Yeah.
I really don't like that. Sure, you can generate a lot of it. You can make NX generators and stuff that just spit out 90% of it if you want to, but and now even with AI coding tools. I mean, if you give it a good instruction or a predefined prompt file or whatever, it it puts it out for you. So it's not that big of a deal anymore. But I don't know. I think Signal Store is a lot leaner and cleaner. And then what you say, what we're missing in it, one thing that I really was missing compared to the OG version was events. But we got that now as well. It's still experimental, I believe. I'm not really sure. The event package for Signal Store, NgRx.
The one that Marco developed.
I think so. NgRx events. It's not this. Yeah, it's as marked as experimental still.
I'm just gonna interject and say that I do love reducers. I like event-driven state management. But I'm okay with the in-place stuff, like you have signals, you can compute other stuff, you can add methods that do it. But I personally prefer event-driven.
I get you, and that's why I said I really miss the events from the OG one. But with the event package, you get reducers
Yeah, yeah,
again, and you get the event driven back. So it's more or less like the old one, only in a smaller package,
yeah,
basically. But I do agree on you. Without the event package, you miss something. It feels too
yeah,
tightly coupled as well. The
yeah,
events just really decouple nicely, and it's also great for cross domain communication, and that's something that's hard to organize with the normal Signal Store.
yeah.
Currently at work we use callback functions, so we have on success and on error on all the with methods basically. We made a wrapper around them, and then we use that on success callback to trigger cross domain stuff if needed. But it feels more like I don't know, like a patch or a hack, and event driven would really be nice. So I think the new event package, when it's stable, is a great add-on.
Yeah, when I read about how Marco was developing it, I was super happy. And because I haven't been too enthusiastic about Signal Store because the event driven approach for me thing, and I think actually Michael is sharing my sentiment entirely. He says I do not care for events myself, but I'm happy it's opt-in for people who like them or used to them. I'm actually going to try a Signal Store again for certain things someday. Yeah, yeah, like, makes sense. It's good that it's opt-in now because reducers are like when you get them and when you keep all the rules and you keep them polished, and especially if you use again stuff like NgRx Immer, which allows you to write way shorter reducers, more readable, you kind of feel that like, yeah, this is a great backbone for my entire state management. It makes so much sense. It's so easy to debug and see what went wrong or whatever.
Can you share
uh,
something of the docs from Immer with NgRx? I never used the two
yeah,
combined.
yeah, yeah. Let me da, 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 da. Let me share my screen. So screen, yeah. So there is this library called Immer, right? And ImmerJS. So what Immer does is essentially it allows you to do updates to like a state, a piece of state, an object, while writing imperative code, but it uh, keeps the data immutability. Okay, so if you want to update like this object here in this example, like you have some state, for example, this state from here, what you would do like normally, if you want to keep something like a sort of data immutability, you would pick a slice, you will clone the array. In this case, in this example, it's an array. Then you would like replace one element, combine it with an update, or the pattern where we would write in reducer, you would do something like dot 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 state, comma, and then something that you want to change.
Mm.
And it already looks kind of ugly, but it looks even worse when you want to update some nested objects, because it now becomes some nested object, dot dot dot, clone this object, then another nested. It becomes real ugly real fast. And for good reason, NgRx, for example, doesn't allow you to do an imperative update. So you cannot just say state dot x dot y dot z equals
Mm.
something something. for good reason.
Yes.
But if you want to write something like that, you could use the immer library. It gives you this produce function where you can give it an object, any object with any depth, and it will create a proxy draft. And in this
Mhm.
callback, you can do whatever you want. You can change updates like this. You can push into arrays. You can change by index, whatever you want to do with
It's
any. Yeah.
it's a bit like the update function on a signal, only different syntax, but it feels like it.
Sort of, yes. Yeah. Yeah, this immer in general isn't tied to NgRx or whatever. You can just
Oh no,
import this, use anywhere. And there's the NgRx immer plugin. It gives you like two functions, immer reducer and the immer on function. I don't like the immer reducer because it makes you return the state in all your callbacks. There is some issue with it. But you can use the immer on function. So essentially, instead of writing on, here's a good example. Instead of writing on and return some dot 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 state to dos, like dot 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 state to dos and so on, and even deeper, you can write immer on instead of on, and you can just do this imperatively here, and it will keep the data immutability. It won't go and update the existing object. It will create a new object. It will essentially, under the hood, it will use this produce function, and it will produce a new state using these mutations. And if you have big reducers, if you have like some monstrous business logic or whatever is going on there, this saves a lot of time. Actually, I've added immer component store, immer patch state. Oh, see, they have added something I haven't been aware. They added immer patch state for
signal
patch
store. Yeah,
state.
because
Yeah,
with signals, with signal store, you kind of have the same
yeah.
problem. Only you do what is it, patch state. So it makes sense that they called it im of patch state.
So yeah,
Uh,
it's great because with this lib you can do immer patch state and just type in like this.
I might have to introduce this one as we're at work because we now wrote our own kind
Yeah,
of like helper method
it's a good one.
to do this.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I have never had problems with immer on. That's the one I've used on the conventional like NgRx store. I bet this will work as reliably as the other one. So
It's probably just a
the other
wrapper around it.
wow. I don't know why this works this way, but it's interesting as it's just let me a bit stray away for a moment. I said I don't like create immer reducer because it kind of makes you return the state in all the on callbacks. I
Mm,
don't know why. That's some issue. It says caveat you have to return the state with each on method. Okay, but it gets even weirder when I read further about the uh, this other one, immer patch state. Please note that the updater function can only mutate a change without returning it or return an immutable state without mutable change. This one is going to throw a runtime error. If I change the state, then I return the state. It will throw because of both returning and mutable change. I have no idea what kind of JavaScript. And to be clear, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm pretty sure there is a deep internal
a
reason why
valid
this works
reason.
this way. Yeah, but my mind just cannot comprehend how does changing a state. It definitely has to do something with proxies because under the hood, immer creates a proxy for the object that you're gonna mutate. But man, this is really really fascinating. So yeah, Immer reducer. If you don't know about it, NgRx Immer, feel free to check out this package. I'll also leave the link there. Da-da-da-da. Let me show the link. Yeah, so feel free to screenshot this link also. And Michael says the NgRx toolkit has with immutable state for some immutable safety. Yeah, I've not been aware about this one too, to be honest. Yeah, I will take a look. That's
I have
interesting.
it on my screen actually.
Ah,
Let's see, screen this one. Wait, let's move this one back to here. So it's this one. I haven't used it. We are using NgRx toolkit, but not with immutable state. So acts like a with state, but protect against immutable change by throwing runtime errors. Mute immutable state. Okay. So if you in a component try to mutate your state directly, it will throw an error. That's actually nice.
Oh, interesting. That's essentially like the same as you could go in the NgRx store configs. You could put global configs. I don't remember how they're called. They're called like runtime checks, right? In NgRx store, and you could say no, like no immutable state and no mutations in selectors or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Strict action immutability. Yeah, I remember the name. Strict state immutability, and if you put those on true, you could never do something like state dot something equals something else. Yeah.
Uh,
Only a runtime error, but it's a quick and easy one line. Yeah. Absolutely worth it because I remember at some point I like inadvertently did a state update in a selector, and we didn't have those runtime checks, and it was a crazy bug which we like spent like 2 days trying to do just one line of code in selector, which was wrong because it was actually a assignment which was supposed to be something else. Like I don't remember, but terrible bug, very hard to catch when you do it. So yeah, immutability is great. Doesn't matter if you're using 10 stack, doesn't matter if you're using NgRx, NgRx signal store, NgX state, whatever. Immutability should be number one priority in state management.
yeah,
I
totally.
think, yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Or you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. So on this note, I wanna maybe talk a little bit about like best practices and stuff. We're talking about state management. So what advice?
Yeah, well, immutability for
Yeah.
one. What's another great one? I would say define ownership early. So
Mhm.
who owns the data, and yeah, separate and share by domain. Don't put too much in one store because it will eventually also blow up. Kind of like God components. I guess you can also have
Yeah.
God stores. Um, yeah, what's another one? I like the facade. So, like I
Yeah.
demonstrated earlier, that's also for me a best practice. Like, separate your component layer and your state layer from each other. You can do it with events, you can do it with a facade, but come up with something that makes sense for your application to kind of decouple the two. Yeah, what else? If it's a large application, I would say, because in my demo, it's a small one, and there I just created a basically data access folder with the facade providers and folders for each thingy, basically. Um, and that's great for small apps, but when you're building something larger, I would say scope things by feature and or context domain, not
Oh.
really
Yeah.
by what it is. So don't create a stores folder and a service folder and a components folder. Just create a feature folder and have each of them underneath there so it's scoped, and don't shy away from duplicating between
Yeah.
different domains because too much global stuff also ends up blowing up a lot of times.
Um. Uh, One thing I would like to add that's like a really solid list. Trust me, if you follow like at least the 80% of the advice Roberta just said, you will be fine in general. I would like to add just one thing. Please use selectors or computers, like depending on which one you are using. Please use them. Please don't copy state, and please realize as soon as possible if a part of a state is actually derived from somewhere else. There's like one of, if not number one, then at least number two mistake that I see all over. People would create something like, I don't know, array of products, and then somewhere they would in the same state or maybe an adjacent state object, they will do something like filtered products, and their reducers will start jungling that all around, filtering these and storing there the copies of. You don't do that. You have derived state for that reason. So
Yeah, great
I had
addition.
at some point I had this mental model that if you want to add something in your NgRx or whatever state management code, start with derived states. Think before you write anything or type any characters in your screen. Like think, should this go in a selector or computed? 90% of the time you will realize that you actually just need a new selector or a new computed signal rather than trying to, because when you have two pieces of state that are dependent on each other, keeping them in sync is hell at some point. And
Yeah,
if you keep maintaining that for long enough, it will become terribly difficult to like actually refactor it and to make it into a derived state. It becomes more and more difficult as time goes.
yeah, great one. Never store what you can compute, basically, in one
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, yeah, we time flies. We already talked for more than an hour,
oh yeah,
actually.
we started half an hour earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually like it was really interesting. I didn't realize it's already 1 hour. So before we
Time
wrap
flies when you're
things,
talking about state management.
yeah, and stand still when you are trying to refactor one, right?
Hell yeah. But if you
And
have a facade, it goes easier because you don't have to touch your component layer anymore.
yeah. Today, Michael is reading my mind because he always asks questions in the direction that I want to go. He asked about something about your book. I forget, since I read Effective Angular last year, was Mutability talk like this or TanStack query mentioned? If not, if you wrote it now, I assume you would have in retrospect mentioned it.
Yeah, we talked about it at the very beginning of the
No,
podcast
okay.
or show or
Yeah.
whatever we
Mm.
call it. And if I had to write it again today, I would include a lot of other things basically because yeah, I would probably include TanStack a little bit, but I would go much heavier on signals in general, because like I mentioned when I was writing it, it kind of was at the border when signals came to be, and I went back into the book very last minute to include signals and control
Yeah.
flow and I believe I also included a little bit of signal store, but really basic. And if I had to write it again, the state management would probably go into signal store and 10 stack query, and all the component state would have been with signals and computed, and yeah,
Yeah.
all the good stuff we use now basically. But yeah, that's the problem when writing a book. It's like I said, I wrote like 12 or 14, I think 14 months on it, and so much changes, especially at that time it was like the Angular Renaissance period. New changes just kept on coming, so it was really hard to keep the book
Yeah.
up to date with it.
Maybe we need to write a new one because it's a bit more calm now.
Yeah, that this might be a good time to actually do that.
Michael can't stop praising us. Thank you so much. He says the good stuff. You two don't shill your books as hard as they deserve. Anyone watching, buy their books now. I'm not saying anything. Michael is saying that. So
I'm actually also thinking of writing a bit more articles on Angular Space. You do that more than me. I constantly try to find the time, but there's constantly something in between. So then it's the podcast, then it's private stuff, then it's work. Now I'm switching to a new role for next year, so constantly things are coming in between and eating my time. And but I would like to write more as well.
yeah. I have a very limited time to write stuff. That's why I'm doing live streams. Live stream is like, yeah, you spend an hour or hour and a half a week, and you kind of have a big thing. You discuss a lot of stuff. You learn a lot of stuff. Meet a lot of great people like yourself.
Yeah, it was very nice meeting you as well. It's
Uh,
actually the
yeah,
first time we talk.
Yeah.
Ro-
Now, I've
Ro-
read a lot of your stuff. Frankly, I haven't
I
read
read
your
your
book,
stuff as
but
well.
yeah, but it makes sense. So yeah, because I asked you to start earlier, and I'm so grateful that you agreed. uh, I'm gonna say let's maybe try to wrap up because yeah, again, everyone, I'm complaining about how late it is here. How are you in like European countries? You have daylight saving times. If you hate daylight saving times, please like and subscribe. But we in Armenia actually do not have daylight saving time. So today, a bit of lore that I forgot that Europe switched times. I asked for the live stream to start at 5 p.m. UTC because that's what I always do, and 5 p.m. UTC for me is 9 p.m. local time. And I was sure that okay, it's 9 p.m. We're gonna start the live stream, and then I see wait, it's in 1 hour, and I'm like, yeah, Europe has changed time. So I asked Roberto to join a bit earlier, and I'm so grateful that you agreed, man. That's great.
No problem at all.
Um,
I was still a bit
ma-
full from dinner, but that's fine.
the next book, just copy paste live stream transcript, throw it in, write this like a boss GPT prompt, boom, you got the next edition. Right? Maybe we should think about it. So yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. We had a like really amazing discussion. I personally learned a lot about 10-stack query. I hope that you did too. There's the demo app that Roberto made. You have the link. I will also post on Twitter and everywhere. Please check it out. Please check out 10-stack query. If you haven't, check out NgRx Signal Store and NgRx Immer. We covered a lot of stuff, a lot of
and
useful things.
and NgRx
If you are
toolkit.
yeah, right. Android Toolkit too. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Roberto for coming.
Happy to be on here.
Yeah,
Let's do it
thanks
again
everyone.
sometime.
Bye.